Episode 17 of Vandals coming to you hot. And we have a good guest. We've got a really freaking good guest. The man who has on multiple times challenged me to a lemon 1v1 eating contest, which Benkai, we still need to do, by the way. Benkai joins the show right off of a second place finish at Copenhagen. Before we get to all of that stuff, Benkai, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. Just caught a case of COVID when I flew back, but I've been recovering and I'm well already. So I just went out to have dinner for the first time. So that was nice. Yeah.
Dude, you
And
guys...
we're definitely gonna have that lemon eating contest, I think. We're gonna have time in champions for sure. We have to do like a content segment for it.
Yes, we do. We need to do it somehow. Dude, it feels like, and I know we'll talk more about this, but it felt like COVID and PRX during Copenhagen were almost synonymous, right? Like, almost all of you had it, right?
Yeah. Only the strong ones survived. By strong ones I mean me and Mindfreak. One of our managers. Two of our managers, yeah. By that, yeah. The strong ones survived, while the rest of us slowly got COVID one by one, courtesy of Jason Forsaken Susanto.
Unreal. We'll talk more about it in a minute, but I want to start off the interview. I want to start off the episode by talking about the fun stuff because Benkai, you have established quite the reputation, especially when it comes to walkouts, right? We've seen penguins, we've seen dinosaurs, which is the background of the show. Unfortunately, you can't fully see it, but there he is in his T-Rex suit. We've seen Vikings, right? Like, how do you do it, man? Where does the creativity come from? Walk me through the madness. How do you decide what you're gonna do?
All right, I'll start from event to event. So it all started in Masters Berlin last year. And honestly, that was like everything I did there was very spontaneous. It was sort of like what my mind could think of maybe a day before the match. So I thought of like the thing where I did like the double jerseys and then the one where like the famous like the toothbrush one. It was all from like the day before.
I
And
still
I
have
just
that
thought of it
toothbrush,
on the
by the
spot.
way. The one you gave me.
Yes.
Still have it in my
It
bag.
apparently saved lives because some flights were cancelled.
Yeah, it did. I lost luggage. Yeah.
Yeah. And for Iceland, I tried to do like a kind of theme, trying to follow like the theme of the place that we were at. So Iceland, I did like Vikings, like a Viking, and I kind of did like a penguin. I'm not sure if there's penguins, but I can play off as a puffin because there's a lot of puffins in Iceland. There are. It works out. And the cameraman one was sort of like spontaneous as well. And what else did I do?
So
did I do 4 or did I do 3? I'm not sure.
So this literally, it just comes off the top.
Most of them, yes, yeah.
What a madman.
Yeah, I visited a costume shop in Iceland like a day before the match or something, and I saw that Viking suit and I'm like, that's perfect, he's just lying there.
My gosh, and I mean, you hit a couple of bangers in Copenhagen as well. Again, the T-Rex. Where did you even get that? Like, did you fly with the T-Rex suit? How?
No, the T-Rex suit was from the costume shop as well. So I hit up another costume shop in Copenhagen and I just saw, like, I'm pretty sure it was the last one. And it was just laying there. It's like destiny, If there's like a spotlight shining on it, it had to be one of those moments.
The clouds open up and a choir of angels start singing. Listen, speaking of your walkout glow ups, you've also had a pretty wild glow up. PRX has from 2021 to 2022. Now let's compare, right? Let's look at both years. Let's start at the very beginning. 2021, you get grouped at Masters 3 in Berlin, right? Not great. You fail at LCQ. I believe you came in 5th, 6th, and therefore you didn't make champs, right? And an underwhelming international performance for PRX in 2021. Then you pop over to 2022. Something happens. I don't know what, but all of a sudden you're getting 4th at Reykjavik. You got 2nd at Copenhagen. You take it all the way to map 5, which we'll talk about later on. The glow up is outrageous, Benkai. To what do you attribute this success? What turned the tables for PRX?
I don't know. Like I would maybe people think like there's a secret formula that we found or something, but it really isn't that anything special. It's just ever since we picked up Jing,
Mm-hmm.
we just kept refining the playstyle that we wanted to bring to Valorant, because during the time the meta was still the same as now, like majority of teams were just playing that slow, like European map control kind of style, but
Yeah.
we just kind of want to refine our playstyle, and that's what we did ever since we bombed out of LCQ. Like we just kept working on that playstyle and just kept refining it until in when it came to Reykjavik, I guess it's something new that the teams couldn't really adjust to. So it was except for DRX, like we always get matched up against DRX. Like the last few events we've been to, is our first draw was always them.
Yep.
And they're our scrim partners, so they always knew how to play against us. So that was like a contributing factor to how we would sometimes like bomb out of early tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I guess this year everything just started working out because we just started to like really build on top of that chemistry with Jing, and everyone is just like a really well bonded, and we know how each of us play, and what we expect of each other. So it's been a very steady rise, I would say.
It's been a meteoric rise. Steady. What do you mean? So, hang on. You mean to tell me, though, nothing. I mean, obviously, you had Jing for LCQ. You didn't have him for Masters 3. So, Jing is a very major addition to this team, too. So, I don't want to downplay that at all. But you're telling me nothing else really changed. The approach didn't change. The skincare routine didn't change. What you guys were eating for breakfast didn't change. It just clicked.
Yeah, I would say.
That's crazy,
I guess we
man.
just needed. I guess. Like I'm not trying to throw shade to like our previous player Shiba, but
Yeah,
I guess with Jing, it's just he was more suited to the playstyle that we wanted than Shiba was.
sure.
Yeah, if that made sense.
Yeah.
So he was the one, like Jing was the guy that was just so happy, like more than happy to just press that W key and just like charge straight in, while the rest of us just try and support him from the sides.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like the both of them, like Forsaken and Jing, they make our jobs really easy. Like all we have to do is just like plan around them, and we just support them as best as we can.
And man, you guys are fun to watch because of that play style. If nothing else, it's you're gonna see something new. You're gonna see something exciting when you watch PRX. As we've seen your team improve, though, would you say that your entire region is growing or perhaps improving at a similar rate, or would you say PRX is just notably ahead of the curve relative to everyone else that's around you?
Mm, I would say that I think the region itself as a whole. So right now the APAC LCQ is going on,
Mm.
and watching those games, I feel like everybody is improving at a steady pace, and they're actually not that far away from us. It's just the thing that separates us in this region is just our playstyle. Because
Mm.
when you watch us at these events, you think that it's a very special like thing that only APAC has, right? But I would I would not say so. It's a thing that only PaperX has. Like the rest of the APAC region has adopted more of that like that slow EMEA playstyle, I
Mm-hmm.
would say. Yeah, and we're just the ones that really stuck to what we think is like fun to us and just what works. So I'm not gonna say that we are ahead of the curve. We're just really good at this particular playstyle.
Well, I mean, but you could argue that you are ahead of the curve in that it's working, right? Like while everyone else is playing their game, you guys from really since last year, you've done it your way. And that's been the funnest part about PRX is they're gonna play their play style. You know it's coming. You can't really stop it. Good luck trying to figure out how to deal with that. And it works. And I even think about again that map 5 against FPX in the grand finals at Copenhagen. That feels like the perfect manifestation of PRX. Like that's what you're gonna get. You run a Yoru Neon Breach comp on PRX. Before we get to the match and the actual tournament and all of those things, I want to talk about your playstyle because it teeters on chaos, right? It's just madness. Who's the mastermind behind all of this? And then also, why this approach? Why not something more conservative, more metered, perhaps?
Mm, okay, so for me, I've always wanted to be able to play between two playstyles according to the teams that we face up against.
Mm.
So one playstyle I would like to have is the one that we currently have. It's like just full on chaos in your face kind of gameplay. And maybe a second playstyle is one where we maybe turn down the speed a notch and just like take it a bit slower, like an EMEA team would. But I don't know, we just realized that we were so good and accustomed to playing our like chaotic playstyle that we should just keep building on top of it, you know.
Mm.
But eventually, not having the like a slower approach is kind of it would cost us a bit, because if you saw in that last map, right, on that breeze map, we couldn't really adjust to that slow playstyle that FPX was bringing, and we couldn't really adjust our defense according to that. And that is definitely something that we're going to be working on from this time until champions. Uh, and in terms of like the mastermind behind all of this, I would say it's like a collective effort between everyone,
So you're
because
all
like
crazy. It's not just you.
yeah,
Everyone's
all
nuts.
of us, all of us are nuts. It's just the way that we were. It's just how we grew up, like playing in ranked. You know, like that's just
Sure.
how the APAC ranked was for us. Like the ranked experience is just so much chaos and just building on top of that. But I'm not sure why the other teams like tend to adopt this slower play style. I'm
Hmm.
not sure.
Was it?
Yeah, but
Did you? Sorry, I want to piggyback off of what you just said a little bit. Was it? Uh, did you have this play style previous to coming to Valorant, or is this something that like the Valorant agents and the way the game plays and the utility kind of lends itself to this chaotic style that you've adopted?
um, I wouldn't say that it was brought over from another game. Like, so before Valorant, like the roster was from Counter-Strike, and I would say that the way we played then was nothing compared to like the way that we played Valorant. And that was something we had to learn the hard way, because when we switched over from CS, we quickly learned that you can't play this game like CS.
Sure.
It's a completely different ballpark, you know, like with
Mm.
all the abilities and stuff. And it took us a while, but we realized that what would keep a team like ahead of the curve is creativity.
Mm.
And our coach has pretty much a pretty big emphasis on that. And we spend a lot of time in the server just theory crafting all of these like crazy um agent compositions, stuff that we think will work. It doesn't matter like what the current meta is, as long as we think it works, we are gonna make it work. So that's like our approach to how to like bringing in new agent comps and stuff.
I want to ask you a follow up question. This actually came from Sliggy, previous coach from Team Liquid. Um, do you think that a faster, more chaotic play style is the optimal way to play on stage, on land specifically? And the reason for the question being the white noise that's being pumped into headphones. Do you think that that somehow helps you guys lean this way? Is that the optimal way to play on stage?
Mhm. I think even with the white noise, like my own personal experience is that it's still pretty easy to hear what's going on around you.
Mm.
And a lot of the sound from the outside is being flushed out pretty well. So I wouldn't say that it makes a difference,
Mm.
like playing even faster because you think the opponents can't hear us or something. It's just yeah, I don't think white noise contributes into
Sure.
like how we play on land, you know?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, sure. But you lean into the chaos, and it works. It certainly
Yeah.
works. Um, is that something that you think will be figured out? Your chaotic play style, is this something that, in your opinion, could perhaps be? You kind of alluded to it earlier, but I want to pull a little bit more out of there. Is that something that you feel like will be figured out over time, or is this a play style that you think can last multiple tournament runs, years even?
Uh, I wouldn't say that it's going to be completely figured out, but teams are gonna start to get a hang of what to do against it. So FPX was a super good example. Like I would say that the way that they countered our aggression on Bind and Fracture was like the perfect way to playing against that kind of playstyle that we have. Like if any team wants to learn how to play against our playstyle, watch those maps that Bind and
Don't
Fracture
tell them
maps.
that.
I mean, yeah, but it's just down. I would say that after that, it's down to us to be able to adapt to that kind of playstyle.
Sure.
It's a lot of it boils down to like the early round and mid round, but we're gonna spend a lot of time practicing that late round now because I feel like that's the only thing we have to refine before being really like world class with that playstyle.
Benkai, I think you guys already are world class. Your tournament runs this year are a testament to that. I want to go to Bind. You and I haven't had a chance to talk about this, but there was a deviation in composition for Bind, specifically when you played against Optic. You did not run the Yoru. You changed things up. Why?
All right, so what we thought was that Chet, their coach, was going to over prep for the Yoru. And we had two compositions on Bind, so and both of them we were pretty confident in. So we just decided on that map to bring out the other one. And it just so happens that it didn't work out. So that's just what it is.
So, I mean, but it was all mind games, right? Like, they know we're going to bring Yoru. They're heavily preparing for Yoru. Let's throw them a curveball and have them not expect it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It just turns out that our composition was literally every composition that NA would play against them. So, unlucky.
The curveball had no curve to it, at least in Optic's eyes.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you end up winning out the series. Let's talk about COVID. In some form or fashion, it feels like you dealt with COVID from the very beginning of the tournament to even after the tournament was over. As you were mentioning, you unfortunately had COVID. Since you've gotten back, upper semis against Fnatic, you only had 2 players on stage. Like, you guys dealt with that the entire time from beginning to end, and you obviously handled it masterfully, because while you guys had some issues, and we'll talk more about those, you continued to win out. From a morale perspective, how did you deal with that? How did you deal with players everywhere? And, there were reports that some players were actively sick during matches. How'd you guys deal with it?
I mean, it's at the end of the day, even though we're sick, we still have to be like what we thought was we still had to be like professional about it, right? Like we're here to do a job and we have to do it to the best of our abilities, regardless of how we could be feeling at the time. And even though some of us were sick, like if you watch some of the like the voice comms video on the PRX channel, like you could hear some of us having like a sore throat, like they got those kind of comms. We just thought of the entire situation more of like, I wouldn't say unfortunate, but we were just pretty much laughing about it the entire time. We just thought it was like a funny situation to be put in, like each of us just started going down one by one to COVID, and having 2 of us on the stage, that was also funny because like from my perspective, I just thought it was funny that there were 2 of us just doing the walkouts, like me and Mindfreak. That was just funny to me, it wasn't like oh, this sucks, man, I wish everyone here, that kind of thing. Like our minds weren't on the negative side of things the entire time. It's more of like we're still gonna have fun either way. And we're already kind of used to playing at home with each other. Like we don't see each other in real life that often. The only times we really do is when we qualify to these events.
Sure.
So it's the feeling of not seeing each other side to side. I wouldn't say it's unfamiliar to us. That's why I feel maybe it didn't impact us as much as maybe it would on another team.
So there really wasn't. I mean, again, you guys are used to it. Playing remotely, you didn't feel any detriment or any like disadvantage to only having 2 on stage. It felt just like normal. Obviously, sickness aside, right? taking that out of the equation, just the fact that there were only 2 of you on stage, 3 of you were elsewhere, that didn't impact things at all?
No.
Wow.
It felt totally fine, you know. Like
Yeah.
it just felt like we were back home practicing again. Like that was like the headspace that we went to for that match. It was just like practicing at home again.
The last 2 winners of Masters events of Reykjavik and now Copenhagen have come from group stages. Do you think, as someone who has come through, you came in through straight into the playoff bracket in Copenhagen, do you think there's something advantageous, in your opinion, to starting in the group stages, to starting at the very beginning of the tournament?
This part is always very 50-50 to me because on one side you get to have more prep time over like your opponents. You get to study them a bit more and maybe a bit more time to practice. But on the other side, like all these other teams that start playing in groups, like they have more time to start practicing and just warming up and getting rid of like those land jitters, you know. Yeah. And I'm not sure because I wouldn't say it's like a for sure thing that if you start in the groups you're going to win the event. Like
Sure.
I wouldn't say that that's the case. It's more rather it's just that there hasn't been a team that's come straight from the playoffs win the entire event yet. It just hasn't happened yet. So right now everybody just thinks that starting off in groups is better, which I don't know. I still think it's a very like 50-50 thing.
Well, and again, you guys flirted with it, right? You were dangerously close, and I think there were big moments from my perspective felt like everyone on the team, right? Like it wasn't a tournament run where it was just Forsaken or it was just Jingg. Like everyone had a very impressive tournament. Of all of the teammates, of all of your teammates, who impressed you the most in that tournament run, and why?
If I had to pick one, it would be Mindfreak. Yeah, because he's not really normally known for being in like the mad fragging department, right? But he's really taken it upon himself this year to really grind it out. Like he did this podcast in Indonesia right before he left, and he said a contributing factor to how he improved so much was like basically one day he just asked himself, "Aren't you sick of getting carried by Jingg and Forsaken?" So that was his motivating factor to just start grinding out Valorant this entire year and just get really good, you know. So I think um that's a very rare quality that you see in pro players nowadays because I feel everybody just gets like a really good salary and then they just get complacent and then they think that being comfortable is enough. But our team just keeps push. I'm not just saying it's just Mindfreak. Everybody always pushes themselves like further and further, which is why I think we're able to get these slowly improving results, I'd say. Yeah.
So there is still room for PaperX to grow, is what you're saying. They're the 4th place at Reykjavik, the 2nd place at Copenhagen. You still have been able to identify things that can make you better. Like we have not seen final form PaperX yet, is what you're saying, both on an individual perspective and as a collective team.
As a collective team, I would see us really be on top of our peak when we learn how to play against that super slow play style. I would say like that's the only thing that we haven't really like put as much time into compared to like other things. And on an individual level, I feel like I'm gonna be the next one that I'm gonna have to step up, you know. I'm gonna start grinding out the hours. Like I'm not gonna use the excuse of, you know, I'm an IGL, I can afford not to frag, but I don't want to be that guy. I just want to frag out as well as my teammates can.
Yeah, are you not tired of getting carried by Forsaken and Jingg at this point?
Yeah, right, that's it. Sick of it, man. These kids, I gotta show these zoomers, man.
Old man can do it too. All right, understanding that hindsight will likely influence the answer to this question. Do you regret running the Yoru Neon Breach comp in Game 5 of the Grand Finals on Breeze?
No, hell
No.
no. It's a it's such a it's such a PRX thing to do.
It really
Honestly,
is, man. It
yeah. It's
really
like
is.
we're we're all about live by the sword, die by the sword. It's if we're gonna go out, we're gonna go out on our terms, and that's what we did for Breeze, regardless of the result. We just brought what we thought was going to work, and I wouldn't say that the result is gonna be different if we ran something else.
And you stuck to your DNA, you stuck to what you knew, and
Yep.
if nothing else, man, the respect that I think was garnered from people who may have perhaps been doubters of the PRX recipe, the PRX style, the fact that you go down in a blaze of fury. Uh, Again, I think you grew in your fan base this past tournament. Benkai, we've talked about this a little bit. You're known for having a larger than life personality. I think we talk about walkouts. We talk about content bits during the show, like what you did with Tom and Mitch, which was hysterical, by the way, right after you finish a match. Interviews, everything you do. Benkai exudes this personality about him. But let's talk about the future, right? When the lights turn off, when all of this is said and done, however many years from now, 10 years from now, or whatever it may be, how do you want people to remember Benkai?
Hmm. The way I see it, the legacy that I want to leave behind is I want to be able to tell people that although at its core we are in a very competitive sport, it's still a game that we're playing and we are allowed to have fun with it, regardless of winning or losing. So I know it's a job and
Mm,
losing sucks sometimes, I know, but you can't win like the reality of it is you can't win all the time.
mm,
And as soon as you accept that reality and you just start seeing it and you start adopting like a growth mindset, you're going to put yourself in a much better place than you were being upset about losing.
mm.
And I want to be a testament to being able to have a competitive spirit, but also enjoy it at the same time. Yeah, that's what I want people to remember me as.
Well, I think you're well on the way to that being the legacy that you're creating. I want to zoom out a bit now and think about North America. So the biggest story in Valorant right now is Shroud. He just made his pro debut, his pro Valorant debut last night. First Sentinels up against the guard. I think it was his first official in like 2 years, something like that. Um,
4 years. He retired
4
in
years. That's right.
2018.
That's right. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
maybe he played like an open or something. But either way, he's back on the stage, and it's been a long time. You and I were chatting, and I know you said you watched a little bit of the series. It was like 6:30 in Singapore, so I don't blame you for not staying up the whole time. What'd you think?
Ah, it's not like I'm super sure that it's not the blowout performance that everybody was hoping for, right? But
Mm-hmm.
at its core, everybody is just expecting it because they're such including myself, we're such big fans of Shroud.
Sure.
He's just the guy that for me, like I grew up watching, especially when because I came from Counter-Strike, right? So I was a big fan of his when he was still playing in Cloud9 and that roster. So I stuck with him and his streams when I was still like a very young CS pro, and learning that he was gonna play this LCQ, it just got me hyped up more than anything, man. It's like a kid at a toy store, like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
seeing his favorite toy come back or something. So that's just what I thought of it.
I mean,
And
like they
yeah,
shattered viewership records. I think at one point
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
North America alone, I don't remember exactly numbers. I want to say it was like 500,000 people were
It's
watching.
600.
Yeah,
Yeah, 600,000.
people were invested, man. Like they cared.
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. Sorry. It's just crazy, man, like the kind of everybody was on board, like the Shroud train that was run on full copium and hopium at the same time. It's just like a train that could stretch the entire world, you know, and it was just amazing to watch, like with the viewership and everything.
I mean, they came close. Freaking A, they came close. We'll see how they do in the lower bracket. So, spoilers, by the way, if you didn't know, Sentinels lost to the Guard. Sorry. I want to go back to PRX. I have 2 last questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. What needs to change right now? And it can be from a macro perspective. It can be from a mentality perspective. You know, however you want to think through the question. What needs to change between now and Istanbul and Champs to see, in order to make sure that people see PRX lifting the trophy at the end of the tournament?
So step 1 for us is not to picture ourselves lifting the trophy. And mentality-wise, I would say I wouldn't change a single thing, because the mentality that we bring to these events is always like perfect. It's at the optimal level of not underperforming, but keeping it right where we need it to be. And on a more like technical level of like in-game stuff, I think I've said this before already, so we just need to work on really our mid to late rounds in terms of aggression and how we want to play against like super slow paced teams, like if FPX were to bring the same kind of play style against us again, how do we play around that better? And once we get the hang of that, we fingers crossed we should be able to lift the trophy. But I'm not gonna say we are going to,
Sure.
yeah, we're never gonna put that expectation on our shoulders. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, and I won't, because I think that question is such a bad one. But I do want to go back to something that you said. Step 1 is not to envision yourself. So forget about what you tell the people, forget about what you tell the public or, you know, press, whatever. You were saying that PRX, the inner core of PRX, step 1 in order to win champs is to not envision yourself lifting that trophy. Why? Is it too much pressure?
Yeah, it's just like a headspace that we put ourselves into that allows us not to feel the pressure of needing to win. It's simple as that, you know. Like if you look at a team like what Optic, they're easily gonna say that, oh, we expect to leave the trophy again.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that you expect out of them. And I don't know, it kind of feels like they put themselves in that kind of pressure, be it the team itself or the organization. But yeah, it's the whole point of us being in that kind of mindset is just to alleviate any kind of pressure that's put on our shoulders. That's why when you watch us play our games, we always play with that kind of full confidence that you don't really see in other teams, you know? Like we don't play with that fear of being dropped to the lower bracket or being eliminated from the tournament. Regardless of where we are always going to play how we want to play. And that's solely because of the mentality that we put ourselves in, which is not expecting to win.
Yeah. Last question I have for you, Benkai, and then I'll let you go. Do you have anything to say to the paper people before we go?
Thank you for supporting us. Obviously, I hope more and more teams are gonna pick up the way that we play, because it makes watching these tournaments so much more exciting.
It does do that.
Yeah. And it's always gonna be a breath of fresh air. And I can't wait to see other teams try to pick it up.
Oh gosh, I don't know that the world can handle more than one PRX. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know that our brain can handle all of the chaos. Benkai, thank you so much for joining me on Vandals. Best of luck to you in Istanbul here in a couple of weeks. And friends, for those of you who are watching at home, thank you so much for checking out the content. If you dig it, do all of the things you know you need to do, right? And we'll be good. We'll put on more episodes. Also, if you have a suggestion on who you want for episode 18, well, 19, because I already have 18 planned. I'm sorry. Let me know in the comments below. Again, thank you so much for hanging out. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.